Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have a poor rack, and my opponent's had a great start. Orea's for 64. I have CWM on my rack. I could play that at A7 or A9, making Om. And I could also play Coombs in row I. Either of those better than changing. I certainly want to split up the W and U and play off one of the C's. Now, is there another way of doing that? I've got the un prefix. Unmu is good. That retains the two C's. QMEC is good, keeping WM. Well, I'm drawn towards Coombe up here. I'm behind. This will keep the board open. And the rack leave is not too bad. That's a poor pickup. All vowels. I picked up AEU. Sorry, AEE. If I play off AEU, I'll leave myself with Cane, which is quite a good 4-letter set. I could play AEU beside Coombe, making OR and Emo. Okay, no I can't. Umo isn't good. There will be spots to play it. The issue with playing O or A is the poor score. I'm expecting my opponent to take out row A. He does. So, AEU. EAU rather. Doesn't go there. I'm looking to see if I can play it parallel to Oreades. I don't want to choke the board up. So I can play it here. £12, certainly better than changing. Playing off double EU would leave me a better rack leave. I can't see a way of doing that. I certainly have to play the U off. And I can't see anywhere else to do that. O does take an S at the end, so I am creating a 7-letter bingo lane ending in S. Not bingo-y, C, J and V together. Too many unsynergetic high-scoring tiles, and I've drawn no vowels at all. So not a great start to this game. JUS is good. Great, my opponent changes, a slight respite for me. So how can I score? The J doesn't go too well with the E. But I don't have to play it since I'm so far from a bingo. I'm looking in row E to see if I've got a double-double, which would be probably without the J, something like Valence. Can't see such a play. It would be nice to play off the C and the V if I'm retaining the J. 16 minutes on my clock. JUS is good, but the most I can manage is JEE, which is keeping 4 non-synergetic consonants. I could play cleave across here. This has merit. It's taking out a hotspot. It's not choking the board up. It's keeping a vowel to go with my J. It's scoring 20 points, which is an okay score. This E is quite hot, being above a triple letter square, which isn't so good. I'm keeping the J spot for JUS. Cleave takes an R at the end. Yep, I think this is fine. Not good. Duplicate tiles, and still a long way from a bingo. Job is good, but that's keeping 2 ends. Gion is good. So I could play Gion and Jus. Another bingo from my opponent. So he's established a good lead. I need to keep the board open. Con G is good, but that doesn't get doubled. So this is what I'm thinking of. G on down here. Have I overlooked something which scores a lot more? I quite like G on. It's opening up a really hot spot in row K, which is good since there's this triple line open in column 15. So this is keeping the board wide open, and I need it to be. Well, slightly closer to a bingo, but still still not a bingo. 32 points for my opponent. I could play Eggy in column 15. Now, before I do that, do I have a bingo? It looks improbable, but I do have the ing ending and the be beginning. And the by prefix. Can't see a play. I have Beiji on my rack, which would sort the rack out nicely. Eggy wouldn't leave a good rack leave. B-E-I-N. Actually, that's not too bad. 39 points as well, which is good. I haven't seen anywhere for Beiji. And in any event, I think B-E-I-N is not significantly worse than I-N, and maybe better. Eggy, 39. Not great. Vowel heavy. BF lacks synergy. F non-bingo-y. I do have this spot under the E of cleave for my F, so I could play of in that spot for 28. And since I'm so far behind, playing off just 1 or 2 tiles slows down the end of the game. I'm pretty sure I don't have a bingo with this rack, either a 7 or an 8. I have an I for going underneath Q. So I could play Foyne. 27 points. My opponent is scoring well. Another score over 30. Just checking for bingos through the D and the Y and the H. Nothing is coming to mind. Actually, through a C, I would have Boniface, and this C is just in the wrong position by 2 spots. So there is at least one 8-letter bingo with this set. My of spot remains available. My hesitation with that is that I'm retaining a vowel-heavy rack leave. It would be better to play oaf. But I can't see anywhere for that which scores well, or well enough. It would be good to play off the B as well, but if I played fob, I'd be keeping a very vowel-heavy rack leave. Well, I think I will go with this 28. Pretty good. Now, this does look close to bingo territory. And there's quite a few floaters to consider. But I may be too vowel heavy. Can't see anything with the H of handy. Or the N. Or the D. Or the Y. So what I'd like to do, if there isn't a bingo here, is play off a B and two vowels. Where can I do that? I do have the I for going underneath the Q. My B could also go next to the O of G on. So I could play abide. Not a great rack leave. SI takes a B. So if I played dib, again I'd be keeping far too heavy a rack leave. What about rabid? Only slightly vowel heavy. No good. Sid's not good. 10 minutes on my clock, 38 tiles left. Just takes a G in front. Now, have I really not got a bingo here? I'm looking at these three letter sets. I've got the bio prefix. I've got the side prefix. And orb is a prefix in its own right. But this B is not helping my rack. I could just play BE somewhere. My N could go underneath IO. That doesn't help. Well, what about playing abide down here? Only slightly vowel heavy. 26 points. Well, vowel heavy again, but I do have a good scoring tile in the Z. And there could be a bingo here. Nice word by my opponent, playing off lots of tiles, helping to expedite the end of the game for him. He's now 120 points ahead. I've got the IZE ending with Aran to go with it. Mazarine is good, but the M's in the wrong spot. 8 minutes on my clock. So where's hot for my Z? Well, here is above the A, but I don't have an O. In fact, I have nothing which goes after the U, so that's not available. I could play Zin, but that's keeping a very vowel-heavy rack leave. I'm wondering if I can get my Z on this triple letter square. 5-letter play ending EZ, something like entree, as a 6. Can't see anything. If I played off just ZA, I would have quite a good rack leave. But just ZA here, not good enough. I could play riser down here, but that doesn't help by much. Doesn't help much. I can't see a play down through the M with the Z on this spot, but that's not a great play anyway because of plays across from it. Now, do I have a play across here? Ending ID. Can't see such a play. I could play Sizar. Wow, this is tricky. I could play Days across here. That's blocking bingo lanes. And only 6 minutes on my clock. I'm in a grim position. I don't really like this. It's blocking bingo lanes, but it's keeping a balanced rack leave and it scores well. 34 points. I'm just wondering about putting an A here, but I think the A helps this rack leave. Well, there may be a bingo here as a 7 through, as an 8 through an E. Terrapin or pre-train. That's been blocked. There goes the second blank. Which probably blocks this E. I can't see a 7 with this rack. If I played paid across here to open up the left-hand side of the board, I'd be burning all my blanks and I would then have consonant problems. 19 tiles in the bag, only 15 minutes on my clock. And I'm 160 points behind. My thoughts are turning to minimizing the loss. I don't have an E for going after the R, so it's tricky to play in column 15. I could play a rip at the bottom. Can I do anything which keeps my bingo lanes open? I just need to close off this E. So pre-train, terrapin, and I thought there might be one more. Neither of those goes. Dazer is good. So I could play impart. $37 points. I have 7 clunky consonants. But as this game is, I think, lost, it's probably not a disaster to have them in this game rather than another. I can play Vex in row N. My X can go between the A and the E. Nice score by my opponent. 10 tiles in the bag. I think I will play Vex. 29 points. I draw one vowel. But it's quite a nice one. It goes underneath OB. So I could play Kif and Sif. That would score quite well. All bingo lanes or nearly all bingo lanes have vanished. I think it's just this one across from the A of Oriades, which is available. Kintar takes an S, so column 10, I guess, is also available. But a bingo would not be enough to save this game for me. If my opponent doesn't take out this triple word square, I've got kits for 39. Kif across here. 37. Now, do I have anything better in row D? Well, my opponent's gone there, so I don't need to worry about that. Row H is still available. 5 tiles in the bag. $39 points. I smashed through the 300-point barrier. I have 7 consonants. Not too many floating vowels available. Quite a few vowels in the bag. The clever hook is still available. No tiles in the bag. I can see the 6 tiles on my opponent's rack. Now I'm looking at these vowels around homes. My F could go on this A. Well, I can't see anything good in that spot. 2 minutes on my clock. E double F is good, so I could play Tef and Fed. I'm not going to get any more tiles. Playing kits has stopped me playing Kintars. I'm just wondering if there's anywhere I can play off more than 2 tiles. Not easy. Okay, well I think my opponent will, well he may not go out in 2, I may get a couple more goes. Tef for 15. And now I think I'm reduced to very low scores. I may struggle to even play off 2 tiles. I'm looking in row J. My G or N could go above the U. But I can't see anything running through the I and the U. Great, my opponent provides some vowels. Not that I can do terribly much with them. 1 minute on my clock. My opponent's got UR left, so he could play run, and he could play... Where else can he play? I'm sure he's got somewhere else. Where can UR play? Huh. Well, I'm struggling to see somewhere, but I feel there must be somewhere. Well, only 1 minute on my clock. I suppose the thing to do is to block run, and I can surely do that by playing in row B. If I played log, it would block run. So log for 4. But I'm sure my opponent does have somewhere for his UR. If he doesn't, I have 35 seconds to find somewhere for my for one or more of my tiles. I could play NY for 5. Difficult to see anywhere at all. Great. I did block an out. So NY for 5. How's my opponent got an out for his U? He can play us. And he can play new and goo, so nothing to block. I'm sure there are better plays than this. But I'm very short on time. Just wait for my opponent to play his U. He has 12 minutes to find the best spot. Yep. Pass to end the game. And the final score, 331 to me, 488 to my opponent, a winning margin of 157 points. So well done to my opponent. A dismal, abject game for me with no bingos. Always disappointing when that happens. I wonder if I missed any. Let's have a look. It was my opponent to go fast, and he bingoed. This was my rack, and I played Coombe, leaving CENU. I could have played Seacombe through the E, retaining the W. Well, Seacombe possibly better, given that Coombe opens up row A. This was my opponent's rack. He played Claw. And look down here. Nothing great on offer, but almost everything here is better than changing. I played EAU for 12. That looks okay. Not a nice rack for my opponent. And he changed. This was my rack, and I think I played Cleave, which looks fine. My opponent's rack, and he plays Roosing, which is a nice bingo. The only one, so good spot. And this is my rack. I played Gion for 23. I could have got 1 more point for Re-John across from the R, but I prefer Gion. It's opening the board up and I'm behind. My opponent's rack, he plays Kintar. And this is where I played Eggy. That looks fine. My opponent's rack, he plays Handy, which is nice for me. It's keeping the board open. Now, quite a few nice scores here, but none of the rack leaves or anything to write home about. And is this where I played of? It is. For 28. Well, I think that's pretty much on a par with most plays. Here, where's Mofo playing? C7. Ah, quite nice. Mofo, Arf, and Woe. My opponent's rack, he plays Bio, and I think this was the most bingo-y my racks became. But there wasn't a bingo here. and no scores above the 20s. I played a bide for 26. That looks fine. My opponent doesn't have a great rack, but he finds a nice word in whom. Now, this was also a pretty good rack. Nazir for 54. A bider. I didn't consider the R hook. That would have been quite nice, despite the poor rack leave. Instead, I played days for 34. So I dropped 20 points, but rain is a lot better than AE. So maybe the moves were about 10 points different. Now, this was my opponent's rack, and he bingoed with trusted. Plenty of other bingos available. This is my rack. And I played in part for 37. That looks fine. My opponent hogging the vowels. Plays O higher. I have none. And played Vex. That looks fine. My opponent's rack. And he missed a bingo. Terrible. C4 upcoiled. Wow. Difficult to spot. Making oof and day. He played lip. This was my rack. And I played kits. Annoying to burn the S when the Kintar spot was available. But I think it's worth doing because of the score. My opponent's rack. He played Ted. And this is my rack. There's nothing in the bag. And I played Tef, which was the highest score available. My opponent plays Ionic. And this is where I saw he had run. And I blocked it, which I think most of these plays don't do. But did he have an out? He didn't. Wow. Okay. So he played the R for clever. This was my rack. A bider still available. Well, I hadn't spotted it before, and I didn't spot it now. And I played Nye for 5. And finally, my opponent goes out with Zoo, which was best. So, an interesting game. Quite often when you lose, or when I lose and lose badly, I will have missed a bingo during the game, or there'll be other major errors which I can look at and think, well, had I not done that, things would have been different. And I think the only move in this game which approaches that category was probably the Nazir oversight when I played Days, but that wasn't a terrible error, and the rest of the moves seem fairly reasonable. So I think this bad loss was just one of those things that will happen when you play enough games. So nothing to be too upset about beyond the fact that one lost. Anyway, that's all. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.